village of Red Hook is thriving. With this success have come new demands on municipal services. Red Hook requires a sustainable infrastructure, such as a modern sewer system. Waste management has been discussed in Red Hook since 1947. The time has come to provide the citizens this vital service. The village of Red Hook has recently completed a comprehensive plan for a viable sewer system.
Historically, here in the village of Red Hook, there's been a 70-year, believe it or not, inclination to have a central sewer. The downside is it's not been built. Here in the year 2017 is we're on a path to actually getting it built. Some of the developments in and around the village have included some very progressive town zoning plan changes where they've created a centers and green space project, and it's a forward-thinking zoning outlook where the village becomes the business, the economic, the cultural hub of the town of Red Hook, which is what we want here in the village. That's our perspective. We want people to be able to live and walk in the village and have fun restaurants, viable businesses, interesting community centers, different things. And as one densifies the center, one further realizes the need for a central sewer. Ironically, in our village, our comprehensive plan is somewhat decades old, so what we'll have to do as the sewer comes in, we will then also look at our comprehensive plan. We'll have to do some zoning changes because we will be able to attract some more businesses and we'll be able to attract some larger restaurants, things that'll be more economically viable, and we want to make so businesses can come in and out without a lot of red tape to take advantage of the central sewer. We're not saying open zoning and open change. We're saying we want to attract what we want here, what we envision, what our dream is for the village. And once we get the sewer in, concurrently we'll be working on another project, a zoning project. We're actually looking at some Dutchess County money for innovation grant studies where we might be able to fund some planners and things like that to help us work around the sewer project to redevelop our zoning.
It is essential to protect Red Hook's aquifer and to have clean, safe drinking water.
So the aquifer here in Red Hook is where we get our groundwater, which the groundwater provides the drinking water. The way it's made up is basically there's a shelf of rock and there's about 20 feet of sand on top of it. And that 20 feet of sand is the shallow groundwater where we get our water supply. So the way the aquifer works, rain, runoff, recharges the aquifer. And also any septic systems that are in the village discharge the wastewater into that same aquifer. That then travels through the shallow gravel and sand to the wells that then pump and provide the water to the village. So the concern is whether if the waste is going into the ground and traveling with the groundwater to the drinking supply wells, how do we know it's safe for us to drink? And the short answer is we sample it, check for bacteria, make sure it's safe. And as of right now, all the samples we've taken show the water supply wells to be 100% safe, no bacteria. What happens is the bacteria that we can detect and can measure in the village dissipates as it travels towards the water supply wells. So the natural filtration right now is enough to make it potable water without any additional treatment. So what's happening is the existing septic systems in Red Hook are substandard and very close together. So what's supposed to happen is supposed to be treatment before it gets discharged to the groundwater. And what happens in Red Hook is there is no treatment. It just gets directly discharged to the ground. Because the soils here in Red Hook are so fast draining, that's possible. Water just percolates in, whether it's clean or dirty. And the more you put in, the higher the risk of contamination making it to the water supply wells. And similarly, the more water you use in combination with a higher concentration of wastewater, that leads to the probability of having trouble later on.
To maintain a healthy and prosperous village, new businesses must be welcomed and existing businesses must be allowed to expand. This will create more jobs and a more stable local economy. This growth must also be carefully managed in order to enhance the beauty and walkability of the village for residents and tourists alike. The funding plan for this phase of the sewer project is realistic and workable. It will cost $4.9 million. These funds will come from multiple sources. Red Hook has received a U.S. Department of Agriculture Rural Development Letter of Conditions. This means that funds have been earmarked for the sewer project if the village chooses to accept them. This commits $3.7 million in a low-interest loan for 38 years. Additionally, a grant of $1.2 million will be provided. The village is not required to pay back the grant. To begin construction of the sewer project, the village will receive short-term funding from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, which will be paid back when the Department of Agriculture funds are received. The design of the sewer system is simple and realistic. The new facilities are called a Septic Tank Effluent Sump System, or STEP system. The village will install on your property a new, code-compliant septic tank, effluent pump, lateral pipe, and main pipes on the street. The village will remove your old tank and will own the newly installed tanks. You don't have to pay for them or their installation. Grease traps will be installed for restaurants and pumped by the village. All property owners will provide an easement for maintenance from the tank to the main sewer lines on the street. All power necessary for the tank pumps will be supplied by the property owner. In case of a power outage, backup power will be provided.
It's simple in its installation, and that is something that we were concerned about, is that in a traditional gravity system, which involves trenching, opening up the streets, usually on main streets, and in our case on state highways, this system will be installed with directional drilling. So it doesn't rely on gravity because it's pressurized. So a directional driller is a machine that would actually bore into the ground and drill horizontally. We can go under buildings, under trees, avoid any utilities, which are very few in the village, mostly water. And it minimizes disturbances in the site. Also, we can keep the businesses up and running during construction because the mains, in most cases, will be installed in the back of the properties. This is where the septic tanks are currently located. So again, it's simple for installation, minimal disturbance of what you have other than installing the tank. There will be a lateral with a small trench dug to the main itself, but you'll see very minimal disturbance in the village when this is under construction.
Okay, I was going to say,
There are many things that need to be accomplished to make this sewer system a reality. The village needs to develop and incorporate a sewer use law and regulation into the village code. Rates need to be set and finalized, and the village must transact a land purchase from Red Hook Commons for the pumping facilities. If you have questions or would like a copy of the system map and report, call 845-758-1081.